is enrichment right now for all of you who have finished your found alphabet assignment. Okay, so this is something for you to try with one of your photos. I'll download the photo that I use in case you don't have any photos yourself. All of you who have not finished your found alphabet should use the video that I uploaded showing you how to put it together in Photoshop. It will be on your Teams page. So first off, I am going to open up a very colorful picture. So I'm going to go to Open, and I'm going to navigate to my desktop, okay, and find that a picture that I would like to use for this assignment. So we're looking for something that has a lot of color in it. I've chosen a picture I shot of a friend this summer. Okay, so if we take a look at this photo, what we're going to do is we are going to first do the normal workflow. I actually believe that I did already edit this, so it looks pretty good. But we're going to go to layers just to see there's the background layer. Now we're going to go to adjustments, and I'm going to check out the levels. Notice that the data goes from black to white, so I do not need to change the levels layer. I'm going to go back now to here to my, you can see there's my levels layer. Now I'm going to go back to adjustments here and click on the curves. Okay, here if I need to make something lighter or darker, I can in the midtones, but as you can see, it doesn't really need anything at all. Okay, all right, and if you are going to crop, for example, maybe I want to get that person out of there, I can go ahead and crop it a little bit more. I don't want to crop too much into the ice cream though, so maybe I'll just crop it a little bit more like that. Push the check mark when you're done. Still there a little bit, but it's not as noticeable. All right, so the basic editing is done. We will be learning about color balance later. We're not going to do that right now. Okay, so this time I'm going to show you how to make the picture black and white. We're going to go over to the adjustments, okay, and we're going to be looking for the black and white layer. Remember, when you hold your cursor over any of these adjustment layers, it tells you the name up here. Okay, so in the second row, the half black, half white circle is the black and white layer. If I click on it, it will make it black and white. Notice here that I have my black and white layer. I can turn it off to see the color. I can turn it on. All right. I can double click on this icon to get back to the properties. When you're in black and white, you can use any of the sliders to make specific colors darker or lighter. So if I want to make all the reds a little bit darker, the yellows, we got the greens here, the cyans, which is like a blue-green, blue, and magenta. Okay, so I can make it look a little bit richer in tone that way. All right, now once you have a black and white layer on, I'm going to show you a couple different things you can do with it. First of all, we're going to go to layers, and when we have the black and white layer selected, you can go up to the top of the layers palette here, and you'll see something called opacity. Opacity is how see-through the layer is. If something is at 100% opacity, that means it is not see-through at all. It is opaque. Opaque means you cannot see through the layer. Okay, so the black and white layer is there. Yes, you do see the picture through it, but it doesn't show any color. All right, if I go to the drop-down menu here, I get a little slider. And what I can do is change the opacity, and you can see that it brings back a little bit of color, which makes it look kind of like an old-fashioned picture because the color is much more subtle and pastel. As I bring the slider to the left, you can see the color gets more and more intense until it's all the way back. And that was a very saturated picture to begin with. But I can bring it back and say, okay, I kind of like it right about there. So that's one thing you can do with the color layer. I'm going to bring it back to 100% opacity. Another thing you can do is selective color. Now this is a slightly more advanced technique, so I want you to go ahead and give it a try. In the layers palette, you're going to see on the black and white layer the black and white icon. To the right of the black and white icon is something called a mask. If you click on that, you'll see the brackets go around the mask. The mask is something that's going to allow us to selectively cut through this layer to show some of the layers underneath. So in this case, we're going to be cutting through the black and white layer to show color. To do that, we have to go over to our paintbrush tool, okay? And we have to have black on top. So we have to double click on the color picker, and we're going to make sure our color picker is set in the bottom left hand corner for black. All right, so the black color square here has to be on top. Now we're going to take a look at our options on our brush. I'm going to go with a soft edge brush right now, so I can feather my changes in. So with a soft round brush, it's got the kind of faded edges, and again, it feathers any changes that we're going to do in. Here we can also make our brush bigger or smaller, but I am going to use the keys on the keyboard. If I look down at the keyboard, do not touch the letter P, but find the letter P, and to the right of the letter P, you'll see two bracket tools. The right bracket is going to make my brush bigger, the left bracket makes it smaller. Okay, so I'm going to make it maybe around, for this picture, I'm going to make it around 80. Your picture might be a different size, so you will have to adjust it yourself. All right, again, we're making sure we have the mask selected. And now when I paint on this, you can see, ooh boy, his skin looks pink here. I can bring back, when I paint with black, what it's doing is it's cutting through to bring back the color in a specific area. So if I bring back the color over here, it's going to, wherever I paint with my black brush, it's going to be bringing that color back. Okay, so I can keep going with this and carefully, I can make my brush smaller. And this is actually when you can also use the navigator tool. The navigator tool is this little ship's wheel. I can zoom in so I can more carefully do this so it doesn't look like he has a sunburn, right? Like it does right now. So I'm using the left bracket tool to make it a much smaller brush as well. Okay, so I'm going to go through and carefully paint back the color, okay, on, his skin. Now let's say I look at it and I say, oh, either I make a mistake and like go over into another color, or, I decide I don't want that much color. Okay, to bring the black and white layer back, what you have to do is go over here to the color picker, use these little arrows. I happen to have white on the bottom. If you don't have white on the bottom, you'll have to use the color picker to get to white, and then push OK. And then I can use this arrow to switch to white on top. So I can switch back and forth between white and black. I'm going to make my brush nice and big now. And as I go over it with the white brush, notice I'm bringing back the black and white layer. So I'm going to go through here and carefully paint back. Maybe I just want his lips to be pink. Okay, if I switch over here, I can bring back other colors as I decide to. So maybe I want to bring back his blue shirt. It's a great color. I'm making the brush bigger and smaller with the bracket tool as I go so I can more carefully paint this back in. Okay. All right, so let me finish this up real quickly and make my brush bigger. Ooh, the bigger brush you make, the bigger area you can cover, but you do have to keep in mind that it is going to possibly go into other areas. Make the brush really small when I get to the edge. I might have to go back and clean this up. I'm pulling in a little bit of the pink from something behind it. Okay, I'm going to Command 0. Remember, if we push Command and 0, it fits the screen. Oops, I have a whole lot more to do than I realized. All right, so anyways, let's do this real quickly. There we go. And there we go. Okay. Now, if I want to kind of go back in here and clean it up, I'm going to switch to white, make my brush much smaller, and clean up the background there. But it's really important to zoom in close so you can see what you're doing exactly. Okay, now I could go through and carefully bring back small bits of color. Whoops, I gotta switch to black to cut through the layer. But I'm actually gonna just leave it like that for now. You can play around with yours. Okay, once you have done everything you want and you have it the way you want, you're going to save it as a TIFF, File, Save As, save on your computer, and you're going to call it Selective Color. Okay, we're going to change it to a TIFF and save it on our desk. We can start a new folder with a selective color folder. Push create and push save. And okay. All right. And if you do this, I would love, actually, you know what? Save it as a JPEG too. File, save as. I'm going to save it a second time onto my computer. This time I'm going to save it as a JPEG. It's not, okay, there's no JPEG option there, so I'm going to go to Save As Copy, and I am going to find JPEG, JPEG, not JPEG 2000, but JPEG, and I'm going to save it in the same folder. I don't need to change the name because it's a different format, so it's not going to save over my other one. This will flatten all of the layers out, but the reason I'm asking you to save your final version as a JPEG is when you go to Teams. I would love to see these, okay? And I am going to ask you to go to the general channel here, and you are going to start a new conversation and type in selective color. Okay, and you are going to add, you can upload this to your computer, so I'm going to type in selective color, and oops, I have to go on my desktop. Well, I probably missed it. Desktop, selective color, there it is, and there's the JPEG. I'm going to push open. Actually, I'm going to put selective color examples, okay, and I'm going to push send. Now, when you guys send yours, you can simply reply to this selective color post on your period. I'll do this on 6 period as well. Okay, so those of you who are done with your found alphabet, try one of your photos with selective color. I will right now upload the original, so just in case you need a picture to work with, you can use that as well. So have fun, enjoy playing around with selective color, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.